Hi everyone, Rene Bastarache, and tonight the topic is going to be on the 10 traits of the successful few in life. Been doing a lot of thinking about this topic, and I came up with 10 traits of what it takes to be truly successful. Now, the reason I came up with this, what's been going on is for years we've been teaching people. As you know, we're with hypnotherapy. For those that are hypnotherapists, you know that. For those that aren't, you probably don't. We've been teaching hypnotherapy for years. And also another thing we teach is we like to teach people how to start the business, how to be successful, and how to make money. But what we're finding, year after year, we give the same ideas and new ideas and all these really great concepts on how to make money. But year after year, we see people, they get started, they get excited, they come into the business, and shortly thereafter, they fizzle out. Why is that? Been giving it a lot of thought today, especially before this talk, and I came up with these 10 concepts. So the first one, and you might want to write these down because each one of them is very important. The first one is desire. Okay, we all have a desire to succeed. I mean, if there's anyone that doesn't want to succeed, go ahead and tell me, but I don't think we're going to see that here. We all want to succeed. However, just wanting to is a dream. A dream is not a goal. The difference between a dream and a goal is a goal, I guess you could say, would be a dream with a deadline. There has to be a little bit more to it. Now, some of the things I'm going to say tonight, you've heard me say in other talks, but again, they're so important, I'm going to reiterate them, but we're going to try to put them all in one place. So when we're talking about desire, we all want to succeed, but even though we all want to succeed, we all want to move ahead, so few have a plan. Do you realize that less than 10% of society has goals? Less than 10%. So 90% of society doesn't have goals. It's kind of like going on a trip without having a map. If you don't know where you're going, how are you going to get there? Okay, so that's the problem. Less than 10% of society wants to go someplace, but they have no idea how they're going to get there. Less than half of them, so we'll be liberal and say 5%, have clear, defined goals. And about half of them, so 2.5%, actually act out on their goals and do them. And about half of them, so let's say 1.25 or about 1%, actually follow through until they attain their goals. And that's why you've probably heard the saying that 1% of society, 1 or 2% of society controls about 98% of the income in this country. It's not, it's not some kind of subversive type thing. There's no big secret. It's just that so few, only 1%, actually have clear, defined goals and follow through. So let's go ahead and break this down if we can. Less than 10% of society has goals. Like I said, a goal is a dream with a deadline. But it's a little bit more. Let's go into the 5% that have clear, defined goals. How do you define a goal? Okay, if you want to do something, let's say it's, we talk about making money. You want to make more money, okay, with hypnosis, with sessions, with groups, with comedy, with past life regression. Okay, what exactly do you want to do? Do you know how much you want to make? Do you have a deadline, a time you're going to do it by? Do you need any more education? Do you have the knowledge that you need to get there? Do you have the equipment? Do you have the people? Do you have the, an office? So make a list of what you need. So what do you need? Who do you need? Is there any more knowledge that you need? When are you going to do it by? What are your steps? And you need to go out and do it. And it's always good to have someone else know about your goals because you have a sounding board. Someone that can see, are you doing it along the, the goals or the deadlines that you set forth for yourself? Somebody for a reckoning. This is why a lot of people that work with mentors seem to do a lot better than those that don't, because the idea of a mentor is that they actually check back with the people to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Okay, so that's what a clear, defined goal is. Now, acting on the goal. Okay, action is actually number 2. The first one we said was desire, and the second one is action. You need to take action. 2.5% of society actually acts out on their goal, actually does something about it. So let's talk about what's the opposite of action. The opposite of action is doing nothing, is doing the same, or procrastinating, okay? How many times have you heard somebody says, I'll do that when I get around to it, I'll do it as soon as I think about it again later. We're creatures of habit. We want to stay the same, which is number 3, which is change. We don't like to change. The human mind, or the conscious mind, is a creature of habit. It wants status quo, sameness. It wants to be comfortable. So changing or taking action is actually against our nature, against the natural conscious man, a conscious mind, okay? Change requires growth. And growth or change is outside of your comfort zone. It's uncomfortable to change. You have to stretch. And of course, if you're not changing, you're staying the same, which is comfortable. People want to be comfortable. They come home from a long day's work, they sit in the recliner, watch TV, have a beer, whatever it is. They like comfort. Somebody calls up, hey, you want to come over and help me work on my porch? That's uncomfortable. It requires change. You see what I mean? So first of all, to be successful, you're starting to see is a little bit against our nature. It's against the nature of the conscious mind to do things that we haven't been doing. So now we're starting to get into why so few people are successful. They work really hard and they go to do something and then they stop. Matter of fact, you see this with New Year's resolutions, which we're going to talk a little bit more about in the future, in a little while. People make a New Year's resolution to go do something and they work at it for about 5-6 days, boom, and they're right back to where they started. Because it's resisting, it's change. It's resisting the comfort zone that we set up for ourselves. Number 4 is persistence. Now, before we said about 1.25%, so 1.25% actually follow through with their goals to fruition, okay? And we've spoken about this many times in our hypnosis course, that in approximately 83% of the public, and it's been tested and been done on this, 83% of the public, when given a positive suggestion, within 3 to 5 days, will be back to their initial behavior. If you're just given a suggestion once and you want to go out and do something, within 3 to 5 days, you're going to fall off the wagon and be right back to where you were. So it takes persistence. It takes repetition. You got to keep on doing it and keep on doing it. You must build a habit of success. And again, like we was talking about the New Year's resolutions, okay? Someone that wants to run every day, they go out and they run, and usually within about a week or so, they're done. Matter of fact, I have a graduate, he was talking to me one day. He's a bodybuilder in Gold's Gym. I won't say which one, but he was saying that every year around January, everybody comes out and buys all these memberships in the gym. They all have this New Year's resolution to work out. And he says he and his buddies would just stand there and pointing at each other, and they'd like take bets. I give this guy a week, I give him 4 days. He says it would be so busy for anywhere from a week to about 3 weeks that they could hardly work out. But within a month, it thinned right out and it was back to the regulars again. Because people didn't have that follow through, that persistence. They do it a little bit, it was bucking against their comfort zone, and they went back to where they were before. So success, in order to be successful, you must build a habit of being successful. Because if you're not successful right now, guess what? You built a habit of being that way. People that are naturally lazy have built a habit of being lazy. People that exercise every day have built a habit of exercising. People who study when they get home from school have built a habit of of studying when they get home from school. So if you don't like the way you are now, you need to build a habit in the new behavior. So if you're trying to be more successful at work, you need to build a habit of doing whatever will make you successful. After that, is responsibility. Number 5 is responsibility. The difference between people who are successful and people who aren't, people who are successful take 100% responsibility for their actions. They don't blame their failures or their successes on anybody else. They did it. So what's the opposite of being successful? It's playing the victim game. And I call it a victim game because there is no such thing as a born victim, okay? People are born in a happy, healthy, natural state. Being a victim is something that you have to work at, okay? So we call it playing the victim game. What is playing the victim game? Anytime you blame, explain, or justify something, you're playing the victim game. It's funny. A student called me this morning, and if you're listening, I got to tell this story. Okay, a student called me this morning who was taking the course, and he said that he noticed that in order to continue doing this without having a lot of hassles, he has to keep his family out of the loop while training, because if he talks to them, they give him a hard time. In fact, he told one of them initially, before he figured this out, that he was taking hypnosis, and whoever it was, his sister or somebody, says, "I hope you're not paying for this course," and he says, "Well, of course I am." And of course they started getting on his case. Why? Because people who are not successful love company. You heard the saying, misery loves company. They love to have company. They love to have other people who are not successful, because the lack of other people's success validates their lack of success. We look for people to hang out with that are similar to us to validate the way we are. Okay, so when someone is being successful in the family and the rest of the family probably isn't, they see this person as a mark. Oh, look, he's going to be successful. He's going to show us up. He's going to make us look bad. So they all gang up on him and start pointing the finger at him. You shouldn't this. You'll never make it. You'll never make it. And guess what? If you fail, then you have validation for your failure, and you're accepted into the warm embrace of the group. It's kind of pathetic when you think of it, but misery loves company. And you've probably seen some of these victim groups. A lot of people have it in their own family. They get around the table once a week and get together and talk about how unhealthy they are, and this one has this problem and this one has that problem, and they're all talking about problems. And it seems like everyone is trying to top the next one. You ever seen that before? They're trying to top the next one, and he's sicker, or he has more problems, he has more problems. God forbid if somebody comes in and says, "Hey, I'm healthy and I'm doing great." They'll all look at him and say, "Shut up," because they ruined the whole momentum of what they were trying to do, okay? So misery loves company, but misery doesn't like success. They're opposite spectrums of frequency. They repel each other. It's like oil and water. They don't mix. Okay? So whenever you blame, explain, or justify, you're playing the victim game. One thing I notice about people that point the finger at you, how many times have you probably see this every day? I mean, we get it as a business. People are always pointing the finger. You shouldn't this, you that, you this, you that. Whenever somebody points the finger at you and complains about you, keep this in mind. It's never about you. Someone who's pointing the finger at you and complaining about you is basically complaining because of their own inadequacies. Something I told Raluca a long time ago, and she laughs about it, is that whenever you point the finger at someone, okay, so here I am pointing the finger at this person right over here. I got to get my hand on the camera. Whenever I point the finger at this person, notice 1, 2, 3 other fingers are pointing back at me. Okay, so if you want to look at it that way, I'm pointing at you, but when I say you're this, the other 3 fingers are pointing at me. So when I point at you, the only thing I'm going to say is, "You're wonderful." Okay, because I could say they're pointing back at me. So always think that. It's never about you. It's always a reflection of somebody else, People love to place their shoulds on people. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't be successful. We need to learn to stop shoulding on each other, okay? People should just be as they are. Things are as they are. There's no right, there's no wrong. Everyone is different. So stop shooting on everyone and on yourself, and just be as you are. Do the best you can. So if you take nothing else away from this, remember, it's not about you. It's about the person getting on your case. Even in emails, we get emails all the time. People writing, "I want this right now. I demand this. I demand that." And Raluca, she has to keep on reminding me, the email is the box of other people's agenda, okay? It's not about you. They might be upset about maybe their kid being late for school or doing something wrong, and they're getting on your case, because half the time when we straighten out their problem, they're going, "Oh, we're sorry. Oh, thank you. It wasn't about you," when you get all these apologies, okay? Don't worry when you get a negative email or a negative phone call. It's not about you. It's their own agenda, and it's a reflection of them. So those are all basically the victim game, the victim mentality. I have never seen a successful victim. As you're doing this, even as you're trying to help students and helping people in your business to try to progress, you're going to have the responsible people that are right there with you. And the ones that can't do it, when they fail, they're going to start pointing the finger and finding all kinds of reasons why you can't do that. Keep in mind, anything you do repeatedly, you get good at. What kind of things are you good at? Some people are really good at writing scripts. Some people are really good at speaking to other people. Some people are good listeners. Anything you do repeatedly, you will eventually get good at. So if you want to be successful at business and you're constantly working at success, at being positive, at doing good, you're going to be good at it. How many of you know people who are really successful and good at complaining? They complain so much, no matter where they are, what they do, they complain. They find something to complain about. They could be watching a beautiful sunset, out with family or loved ones or something, and they see this beautiful sunset, and it's nice and warm. There's not a mosquito in sight, and you're just, oh, it's just so nice. And they look at you and they go, yeah, but it's getting dark out. They always find something. Someone over here says they are professional complainers. Well, if you're going to be a complainer, you should be a professional one, okay? Be good at what you want to do. But again, anything you do, you will become good at if you do it repeatedly. So why not create a habit of being successful? If you do, you'll become good at it. So number 5 is responsibility. 100% responsible for your actions. Number 6, I put the initials PMA, which stands for positive mental attitude. Successful people have a positive mental attitude. You must always be positive. Get away, and I can't say this strong enough, get away from negative people. To me, negative people are like a bacteria, okay? They're a bacteria that can take you over if you stay around them long enough, because that's what happens. The bacteria stays and it grows and it grows, and eventually it takes over whatever it has. So get away from negative people, unless you can stop them from being negative. Let them know, hey, I don't appreciate that kind of talk. Get away from negative people. Also, being positive, you never down talk your goals or desires. Whatever it is that you want to do, you need to love what you want to do. Whatever your goal is, learn to love that goal and never bad talk it, because that's where the negativity starts to set in. Always be positive. Number 7, belief. You must believe that you can and will attain your goals initially. So think about what your goal is. You set your goal. Do you believe you can attain it? Now, if you don't believe it, doesn't mean you can't do the goal. Why don't you believe? Is it maybe too much? If you're saying my goal this year is to make $8 million, but you only made, let's say, 20,000. You can make 8 million if you have the right plan in place and everything in place to do it, but do you believe it? Should you maybe bring it down to 2 million? If you don't believe that you can attain something, make it attainable so you do believe it. Okay? So you want to believe what you're going to do. I mean, if you can't walk from here to the mailbox and back, chances are having a goal of running the Boston Marathon might be a little bit out of your belief system. We call it the buying in principle. Do you buy into the concept that you can do it? If you don't, then maybe you can set it up where you can run maybe a quarter mile. Set that as your goal. Once you hit your goal, bring it to 2 miles, then 5 miles, then 10 miles, bit by bit. The old saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Why? Because you try to eat them all at once, you're going to choke on it. Okay, so in order to believe something, you need to set it so it is believable, and then believe in it, no matter what anyone else says. You can do anything you believe you can. One of my favorite people, you've all heard of Henry Ford, Ford Motor Company. Whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. That's one of my favorite statements. A lot of times when I'm teaching people about the law of attraction or making money, I hear someone in the back say, oh, I can't do that. And I look at them, I go, you're right. You could hear a pin drop. If he believes he can't do it, he can. And right after, somebody else will say, I can do that. And I go, you're right. Because it's up to you. What is your belief system? If you don't believe you can do it, you can't. But if you do, you can. So make sure it's something that you believe in. Number 8, expect it. Whatever your goal is, expect that you will receive it. Believe again, but you have to expect it. It's a little bit more. Kind of like the kid who asked for a bicycle, okay, from Santa. And he expects it's going to be there. I mean, he wrote in his letter to Santa, very descriptive. He had a clear, defined goal, mailed it. And now he's out cleaning a place in the garage to put his bike. He's planning on the bike trips he's going to take with his friends. He's got it all figured out what he's going to do when he gets his bike. Guess what? He's going to get it because in his mind, he's accepted it. He's created it. He's drawing it to him. That's the whole idea of the law of attraction. The law of attraction, if any of you that have heard my courses about the subconscious mind, the law of attraction is the subconscious mind. You could even say it's the law of cause and effect. Okay, thoughts become things. The cause and effect. Cause is thought, and effect is the materialization of thought. You have to think about something before you can get it. If you haven't thought of it, it's not going to come. You cannot have anything that hasn't been thought of first. So cause and effect. The subconscious mind will always grant you what you focus on. It might take a while, but you will always get what you focus on. It cannot not give you what you focus on because that is its job. So the opposite of expectation is doubt. Also, there's fear, anxiety, inadequacies, unworthiness. This is what stops things from coming to you, okay? When you expect it, if you believe it, it's coming to you. Because again, that's your thought you're putting out. You believe you can have it, it's coming. And let's use money for instance, okay? If somebody says they want to have 5 cents, okay, there's not any fear there. There's no doubt. There's no unworthiness. Probably within the next day or so, you'll find a nickel or 5 pennies on the ground. That's a real easy one, okay? Because they're expecting it because they said they're going to get it. They might be doing it for fun, just for a law of attraction type test. But without fear, anxiety, inadequacies, doubt, it's going to be there. Try it for yourself. Say, I'm going to find a penny, or I'm going to see a butterfly. Now, those of you that are in really cold areas, choose something other than a butterfly. But, Texas, you could probably do that if they're still out. And within a day or two, it's going to be there. However, when you say, I'm going to get $5 million, okay, it's coming to you just like the pen in the 5 cents, okay? It's because you ordered it. But the thing is, you say, I have $5 million. That's coming to you. And all of a sudden you say, but I really doubt it. That's also something that you created in your mind. Anything you create in your mind comes to you. So if you create desire, it comes to you. If you create doubt, then you say, oh, but it's coming. And then you say, oh, but I'm not worthy of it. Boom, you're pushing it away again. So basically it's like a yo-yo, coming and going because it's not coming fast enough. You just let it go. It seems to be like that whenever people try to attract things that they can't see, like money or wealth or health. However, it's something that you can see, like you have tickets and the whole trip planned to go to Orlando to go to Disney. You can see that. And all the way down to the trip, all the way driving down, you might be getting frustrated, you might be getting tired, the kids might get naughty, but it's still there because you could see it. And eventually, when you're really worn out, boom, you arrive and then you have fun. You have to have that same belief system, okay? So believe it and expect it as if it's something physical. Now, the next one, number 9, is commitment. Whenever we do sessions, okay, I always tell people, and I've heard this many times, a lot of people want to do free sessions and they want to help people by doing it for nothing, a volunteer. And I always tell them, never do a session for nothing or it's worth nothing, okay? Your clients must commit to either paying or to bartering or to working for it or something. And I'm sure you've seen that too for those of you that are in business. When you do a free session, if you do it for nothing, especially for family or friends, hypnotize them to quit smoking. They'll be smoking 2 days from now because there's no commitment. If you charge them $200, they're going to pick up that cigarette and they're going to go, ooh, I paid $200 for this cigarette. Maybe I'll try a little harder, $200 for the session. They're going to give it more commitment. So it doesn't have to be money, but there needs to be some kind of a commitment, something coming from you, either working towards something, bartering, trading, for a session to be successful. Well, guess what? In order to be successful, you need to commit. What are you going to do to commit to this goal? Okay. you want to be successful. Somebody says, okay, I want to make, let's say, $200,000 this year. But then you just sit down and watch TV and don't do anything different than you have. Well, wishing is great, but there has to be a little action to go with it. Okay? So think of it. How are you going to commit, or what are you willing to do now for your goals of success? So if you have a goal, think of that. What are you willing to do now for your goal of success? The reason I say now is procrastination is the opposite of this also. A lot of people will procrastinate. Oh yeah, I'll think about that and I'll do that maybe a week from now or something, but don't procrastinate. Whatever you want to do, you got to do now. Now, a lot of times when I tell that to people, what are you going to do now? You hear complaining. There's probably some people complaining under their breath right now. So are you going to complain and say, oh, I don't know, he doesn't know what he's talking about? Because all that's doing is validating your lack of ambition, okay, if that be the case. Instead, 100% responsibility, yes, I'm going to do it. Jump out of your chair and get started. Get your notepad and plans and what are you going to do, when you're going to do it by, who are the people, places, and things you need to do it. Take responsibility and move forward, okay? Somebody's saying here, positive thinking, the same as wishful thinking. Yeah, wishful thinking and living something is two different things, okay? You have to believe it. When I'm talking about the subconscious mind, the way the subconscious mind works is you always get what you focus on, okay? Now, it's not just wishful thinking, because if you're focusing on negative, you get that too. Okay, and another thing we speak about a lot is that the subconscious mind does not understand negative. So if you say, oh, he doesn't want to be broke, or he doesn't want to be, something like that, the mind doesn't understand, doesn't. So when you say you don't want something, you're attracting what it is you don't want. Anything you focus on and do long enough, you will become. People, try it some morning. Get up in the morning and just keep on saying how you're tired. You're so tired. You're so tired. And eventually become tired. People that get up and say, oh, I feel great, even though they're tired, will feel great. I do it quite often. If I wake up in the morning with a runny nose, I don't feel well, I keep on saying, I feel well, I feel well, I feel well, I feel great. And within 20 minutes, I'm feeling great. Okay, so you can control it through your belief system. Now, number 10. This to me is one of the most important ones. I call it to be growth-oriented. Okay, growth-oriented. Meaning, one of the purpose of the universe, if you ever heard of the purpose of the universe, what is the purpose of the universe? Is to expand. The purpose of the universe is to expand, and that's it. It is only inclusive. It does not understand negative. It does not understand competition. That's all of the conscious mind. So if you want to say the purpose of the universe, the subconscious mind, the spiritual mind, they're all pretty much all one and the same. Okay, it's to increase. It does not understand negative. That's why people who are very competitive don't do very well in business. The opposite of that is to be creative. And I've said that in many of the places that I teach, in many of my classes, be creative. Find creative ways of expanding your business, of helping people. But don't compete. Because if you're competing with another business, he probably doesn't have enough business either. So you're competing with him for a portion of business that isn't enough to begin with. So how can you be creative? When you're creative, basically you're drawing from everything. When you're competitive, you're just drawing from a small bit, okay? If you can help the universe, okay, in its nature, which is of expanding, so if you can help the universe with this mission of expanding, of growth, it will help you. Why? Because like attracts like. So if you're helping people to grow, you're going to grow. Matter of fact, I don't know how many of you have heard, there's a wonderful man, Mr. Zig Ziglar, who died, matter of fact, about a week and a half ago, November 28th. Zig Ziglar was probably the master of sales training. I've been following this man and studying from him because I had a sales career before what I'm doing now, probably for the past 30 years. And one of my favorite sayings that he says is that you can get everything you want in life as long as you are willing to help others to get what they want in life. So think of that. You can get anything you want in life as long as you're willing to help others to get what they want in life. Beautiful explanation of expansion. That's the purpose of the universe, is to expand. So just to reiterate them, number 1 is desire, 2, action, 3 is change, 4 is persistence, 5 is responsibility, 6 is positive mental attitude, then belief is 7, expectancy is 8, commitment is 9, and being growth-oriented is number 10. So basically that's what I have for you for tonight, and I wish you all the best. And if you go by this, I guarantee you're going to see changes in your business. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now, and I can come back to answering questions that people might have over here. Thank you for coming, and have a great holiday.